of Journalists is coordinating the entire activity. They are a federation of journalist union, and so of course their main audience, their main target, the main public are unions and journalists from across Europe, broadly understood. And their main role, beside coordination, was to organize and develop a set of training materials for journalists, and then to develop some trainings dedicated to representatives from journalists coming from the unions from different countries, from 14 different countries in Europe. And these trained journalists would then go back to their country and organize a national workshop. So it's kind of a multi-level activity that has been planned. Interestingly, the manual for training has been elaborated by Marie Palmer, who is an expert in gender issues and the media and newsmaking. And she's been working, of course, in close collaboration with other partners from the project, including with the activities that we have done at the University of Padua. She has inserted in this manual, which touches upon different aspects that are relevant to the project, also the activities and projects that were elaborated by the students. We should maybe recall that training journalists, so training professionals to better do their job in order to overcome stereotypes in the representation of women and men in politics can be challenging at many different levels. It means to create awareness. It means to invite a self-reflection on their own practices. It means to also reflect on the practices of the newsroom, of the editorial board. Some of the issues that we're facing in terms of persisting stereotypes relate to professional practices and everyday life, whereby journalists are always required to work on a very fast pace, to refer to their usual sources, and very often they are not being offered specific training or specific activities so as to gain better understanding of gender implication of their own activities. But sometimes it's the editorial rules, sometimes it's, as I said, the newsroom, or even the management at the level of media companies.
Because you cannot just change the way you cover the news. You need to have top leaders in the media, in newsrooms, that take responsibility as well for, monitoring the changes, adopting gender equality policies, regularly talking to journalists and asking them, have you looked through all the sources that you could, and maybe provide them with these extra sources that they don't have. There are a number of media that have their in-house sources that they update very regularly.
So the second important pillar of this project was actually to engage managerial position, people working in managerial position within media companies, and in particular public service broadcaster, to engage them with the issue that we're dealing with in this project, and to do so in close collaboration with journalists from the unions. So here we are talking about a specific activity that we have defined as a peer-to-peer, whereby media managers mostly involved with gender equality committees, gender equality units from the public broadcaster in 6 different countries have worked together hands in hands across a period of a few months with representatives from different unions from the same countries. They've been exchanging practices, highlighting some of the challenges that they face in their own daily profession and in their own environment, again with differences that come from different countries. So we've heard stories from journalists from Romania, good practices being developed by the Italian public broadcaster RAI, some other good practices from Sweden, but also interesting things that are coming from Portugal. So this comparative element again comes into play through this exchange of practices, but then the output that is expected of this pillar is really to produce some ideas and plans for more good practices to be implemented in the very context where the participants are operating.
To convince journalists but also media leaders that they need to take that extra step to portray society as it is really, to show that there are women politicians running for elections, that they don't necessarily only talk about gender equality, that they can talk on any kind of topic. And I think it's a question of democracy for journalists to do that.
And the last element is maybe this collaboration that in the Italian context we managed to have with the Italian Union of Journalists, Federazione Nazionale della Stampa. So some of the members of the FNSE participated in the training of journalists. Some of them participated in the peer-to-peer that I have somewhat described as other activities in the project. So they really gained not just understanding on how to address issues, but they also developed a wide enthusiasm, and then they were ready to bring back some of those knowledges to their colleagues in Italy. So they've been organizing a workshop where myself and other colleagues we have participated to train journalists alongside the lines and also the approach and the very interactive method that has been used to train them originally. And I think that is something to be highlighted. So the university working with young people and doing research, but at the same time partnering with media professionals in a space which has become institutionalized thanks to the fact that it is recognized by the order, meaning that journalists who are participating in these kind of activities, they get credits. They are expected by law to receive a number of credits during the year, and they can actually be exposed and be part of a process of learning which really tackles the main issues that we are addressing with this project.